Hey everybody, it's Stephanie with the Shades of Motherhood Network with a very special edition. Happy Pride Month, y'all. We have a amazing doula in the Spokane community that has been doing a lot of work, been educating people and doing tons of things. Miss LaQuena Mathis. I am super excited that you are here to not only some little knowledge, but share about what maternal health looks like in the LGBTQ plus community. So welcome. And how are you feeling this morning?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Happy Pride, everybody. This is like the time where we're kind of out and hopefully just having good times, safe times with our community. So I'm happy to be
Mhm.
here today.
Yeah, I always tell people, Pride is such a beautiful space because you have so many different intersectionalities that are coming together. And then on top of that, different cultures and spaces and places. Like it is so amazing to see so many different people come together and just celebrate. And again, it's about community coming together and standing behind people and saying, be who you are, be you unapologetically. It is just such a cool experience. And then on top of that, it just shows like what our culture and our community is. And that can be sometimes really hard to shift in places that are very conservative. So tell us a little bit about who are you?
Yeah, so my name is Quinna. I use she, they pronouns. My business is Quinna Blair's Doula for All.
Yes.
And I work with the LGBTQIA plus community and also the Black and Brown community. So that intersectionality is what I do.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, how did you get into the doula world? What even made you want to become a doula?
Yeah, so I had a kid 12 years ago now, and I was the only person that looked like me in the room. And when things were going a little awry, I was supposed to be an expert in how to give birth, what I was supposed to do next. And I kept asking the people in the room, like, help me figure out what's the best thing to do. I
Yeah.
ended up having a emergency C-section, and my kid had a seizure and
Mm,
has cerebral palsy. And that can happen to anybody in any room,
yep.
but it felt like I was alone. And I just don't
Mm,
want anybody to feel that um, again. So that's why I'm a doula. I hang out with Black and Brown people and people who are gender diverse, and I advocate for them, but I also give them their voice. So we talk
mm.
about it. Our birthing plans are very specific for those couples, those people, birthing people, and we just keep advocating.
I love it. I love it. You said something really important, which is being the only person in the room. What did that feeling feel like to you? Like for those that may not understand what it feels like, they know what it looks like, but what goes through your head when you are, I love your cat, first of all. You're like, what you doing?
Right?
Um, what does that feeling feel like for those that don't even know what that feels like?
It's I mean, it's a horrible feeling. There's so many different layers to being a dark Black person in a room full of predominantly white people. It's like if I feel something is wrong, I don't want to be that angry Black person. So I'm like quiet and I'm like, well, try to keep the peace for everybody because I don't want to be that person.
Mhm.
Even if I turn out to be that person, right? And
Hmm.
I get angry or I show emotion, it
Right.
feels like people are looking at me sideways, like I've done something or I'm unreasonable or whatever it
Yep.
might be. Even the idea of like, oh, I could have used an extra blanket or I could have like advocated to position differently. I didn't want to be like too much. So it
Yeah.
just all those things that I think society has drilled into our heads, um,
Hmm.
about how to be the perfect, the model. It doesn't save us, and we know statistics.
No,
It doesn't save us. It doesn't matter if you're, Serena Williams or somebody that doesn't make money. We're gonna have the same
that part.
outcomes.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's what it felt like. It was such a, I feel like I had to do this mental gymnastics, just to be heard. And um, actually, like, once everything happened, once the birth happened and my kid had a seizure, calling in the OB and being like, what happened? You know what I mean? And then I'm that
Yeah.
person that's making an uproar about something.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't want that for other people. I don't want anybody to have to do that. I want you to be your authentic self. And like,
Hmm.
it's so much work to give birth anyway. And we shouldn't
Yeah.
have all this other intersectionality where we have to be a certain way, be who you are. And I'm going to be there supporting you in the whole birth process.
Absolutely, absolutely. Something I was thinking about was, just preparing for this conversation is talking about the barriers around maternal health, or paternal health, or birth, experiences. Um, what are some of the barriers for the LGBTQA plus community?
Yeah, so statistically, if you are under any of those initials, you're more likely to not have as much income. You have, if you haven't experienced homelessness, you're closer to experiencing homelessness. So there's just like all those things, food insecurity, um, and then the same, we don't know. So we know the maternal outcome for Black people,
Yeah,
and for Brown people, but we don't know that intersectionality of, okay, on top of that, you have a queer identity.
yeah.
Um, and so there's just so many barriers to getting, not even the best care, but just a standardized care across the board.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I think you brought up too, first of all, Quinna does this bomb presentation about the LGBTQA plus community, and it literally helps you break down and understand what it means when we're talking about pronouns, when we're talking about people, when we're talking about care. Absolutely phenomenal. She did it for one of our classes that we had together as doulas. We do open community education, which is really cool. We love doing that. But you did such a beautiful job, and something that you said was even being acknowledged in your own personal requests for things, whether that be like your pronouns, or you having a biased nurse or a biased doctor, or even just asking for, not even maybe having even some of the words to request what you're feeling or needing. And them to be taken seriously. Like those were some of the things, not in those exact words, that really brought out um some concerns for me. And like, man, like if you're in a place where you already have different intersectionalities, and then on top of that you're in this place where you're supposed to advocate for yourself, and you're supposed to have the words that not only that you're familiar with but also they're familiar with, it brings this complexity that can be really dangerous because everyone's trying to figure out what this person needs versus actually being in spaces of education and understanding what people are experiencing and how to make sure that they have a safe and beautiful and joyful birth. So tell me a little bit more. What does a doula like you do for your families that you serve? How do you prepare them in prenatal, birth, and postpartum?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I always do, I always have like an intake, like, what do you need from me? How can I show up? We then tailor our birthing plan specifically to what um, that birthing person might need. And I think this is really important because now that I've been doing this doula work for a while, I see the like the hospital's kind of glossing over some of the birthing plans. So like, yeah, yeah, we know we won't cut
Mm-hmm.
the cord. We'll do the golden hour. You know what I mean? Like, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
really paying attention. So I
Yeah.
show up at the appointments and we are talking about it from day one. This is not a
Yep.
surprise. So my last client, I can say, had they were they them pronouns, and they did not want the baby to be gendered, so they're not doing a
Mm.
gender, and the baby will come into what they feel is their gender once they're older.
Yeah.
And that was, it was actually quite beautiful because I think sometimes people think I just go in there and I'm like, you need to do it this way, and
Yeah.
but we talked about it from the get go, and so it was quite easy. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, we know," and like everybody's educated, and we're all trying to do the best for our clients, and that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful. So people would start, gendering the baby or misgendering my client. I'm there to be like, "Oh, actually, this is their
Mm-hmm.
pronouns," and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was really simple, and the only time I ever really saw it was during shift changes. So
Yeah.
every shift change, I would just be like, "Hi, I'm Quinna. I use she, they pronouns. This is my client," and and we just keep doing that. It was
Yes.
very simple. But I think that people get this idea like, oh, it's going to be hard or they're going to be difficult, but it's really just like you said, just respecting
Yeah.
that birthing person in that moment.
Yeah. And I think people probably are listening to this and they're like, what do you mean not gendering the baby? Like, what does that mean for
Yeah.
those that don't know?
Yeah, so there's such a binary, and it's across many cultures of just like,
Mhm.
oh, if you are a girl, you like pink. If you are a boy, you like blue.
Yes.
And then I don't know if you ever grew up as a girl. I always wanted to play flag football and play basketball, and then I
I was
was
a
labeled
tomboy.
kind of like
As
a
they would say, like
tomboy.
the tomboy. Yeah. Yeah, I
Exactly,
definitely
right?
was. Yeah.
And I just felt like it was weird to be like my authentic self. And I think
Yeah.
we do that to our children, maybe not on purpose, but it's just this stereotypes of who we are, wearing dresses, whatever, whatnot. And so, not gendering your baby is really just like having your baby uh, find out who they are without all that added pressure. So,
Yeah.
even with my kid, it was, we were just like, you can be whoever you want to be, right? We were always
Yeah.
accepting. And my kid was like, I'm a girl and I like pink. Like, she is the most girly girl ever. And like, and she came, we didn't push that on her. She came into
Yeah.
that. And so that's what it
Yeah.
is. It's just kind of like that. It's kind of like a slow parenting. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
to have it all, and they'll find who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I am really grateful for you not only advocating in our community, but giving people space to have somebody to speak to, have somebody to connect to. When you think of the word compassionate or you think about the word um, empathy, um, how much does that play into a person's birth experience? Because when you start, a lot of people know, like I always call it the window of transition, where you are feeling all the feelings about, maybe your parents, or you're feeling the feelings about how am I going to be a parent and how do I make sure everybody worries about this, I don't mess up my kid, or how do I love them? What is some of that healing work and emotional work that you do with your families that are really dealing with a lot of complex situations? Some people might be dealing with rejection and then trying to figure out what their family looks like, and figuring out how to get people around them to model what their family looks like. Um, and I really feel like that is a shared story, but it gets really complex when you have different intersectionalities and you don't have a community of people that you can connect with. So
Yes.
share that a little bit for those that are listening.
Yeah, that's a huge question. And like you said, the intersectionality changes that. I just think of like a good example is like a trans man who just had birth. The idea that it's like cloaking yourself in protection, right? So like sometimes you don't want to talk about like hey, I teared and I'm still hurting 2 weeks later, and I might
Yep.
need some more like attention.
Yep.
It's like, oh no, I want to like get back to being who I am. And so there's
Yep.
a lot of like with identities where that comes into place, that we just had to take time and find our community. I also have been blessed to work with a lot of like refugees and folks like that who really don't have community as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think something that Shades offers that's been really helpful is like peer support. So I
Yeah.
offer that to most of my clients,
Yeah.
and also any of the events that are going down is what I want to say, but I don't know what the word
Yeah. I
happening
like
in
it
our
going down.
community, right?
Going
It's going
down. Because
down.
look, when we
Um,
come together, it goes down.
it does. It's a good time, but there is so
It
much of
is.
that. Like, there's so much worry about, not messing up your family or like
Yeah.
being a better parent than what we had.
Yes.
And
Ugh.
there's there's so much of that, and then make it a queer topic where most people are don't they have chosen families,
Yeah.
they don't really have their families of origin, and
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
finding that, especially, I don't know, I think when I became a parent, um it felt like a lot of my friends that weren't parents were just like gone. They're like, okay, cool, but like, I don't know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And so I think it can be a really lonely process. And that's
Yes.
why it's like being a doula is important because we're there for that postpartum. I'm there to be like,
Mhm.
hey, so have you checked in with your friends? Are you
Yeah.
like in community? How can I help
Yeah.
you? I'm like, we are like birth workers, but that also involves like community navigating and health work. And so having like resources and kind of knowing what's going on. I had my
Mm.
last client that was just like, do you know any like queer um, parenting or like, what do you call like the kid and parent
Yeah.
groups?
Hit my parent and me.
Yeah. And that's like a very like, we don't really have that, but I also have like this peer support class that you can get involved in, and
Mhm.
just keeping resources, keeping them fed, and letting them talk through it. Like, I'm not a
Yeah.
professional, and that's also something that Shades offers is
Yes.
counseling services. So, but I can
Yes.
like be that person that they talk to, how they're feeling. Like, I can have empathy and understand, like, oh, I get where you're coming from. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's all that it takes. But if they need more, I have that contact. I have that information to get them to mental health services. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you said something really important, which is you're utilizing your resources, you're able to be that trusted messenger, and you're able to connect. And for those that don't know, we have counselors that are a part of the LGBTQ plus community, which is very unique here in Spokane. And on top of that, they've dealt with infertility, they have experience in um IVF, all kinds of stuff. Like it's like our group of counselors are phenomenal. And I think the difference or the differentiation in different experiences help people to understand how to get through something and how to heal through it and how to connect with it. So there is a book I'm reading right now. I haven't told anybody, but I'm reading this book called Healing the Inner Child. And it's just a really hardcore book. And I've only read a couple of pages. And at first I was like, oh, I'm going to go outside and read it out loud. Kids are going to be playing. And I started reading it out loud. I was like, oh, this is kind of deep. I can't read this
mm,
out loud to my kids. But one of the things that they said, they were like, when you heal your inner child, you really are healing parent and your child's future. Like you are taking care, you're being proactive in making sure your child has a better life, has a better opportunity to connect and not have some of the things that you went through as a child. And so I think it's really important for us to get into those peer support groups. And I really wanted all of our doulas to have that peer support training so that they could really identify when people are having these emotional blocks and they need support. And understanding that support comes in different layers, getting support from your doula and getting that emotional support, getting a counselor and getting that support, and then getting community support and having that place of belonging. And Pride Month really just comes out as a big place of belonging for so many people. And figuring out ways to figuring out ways that people can uh-oh. Hold on one second. Sorry, my husband's Bluetooth like sunk to the computer, and I was like, why are they talking about networks? So, anyways, so yeah, trying to make sure that people feel that belonging. And I think that's one of the things that I see that Pride does, which is it creates a place of belonging for people across the community. And I want to learn a little bit about what are some of the places of belonging when it comes to birth and postpartum that you see that is needed in the community. And is there anything new that you possibly are developing or thinking about trying to create in our community?
Yeah, so I have two things. So I do want to do like a parent and me group that's just safe for anybody to come and
Yes.
just be. And the thing that I realized about being a doula is I can't be somebody's everything. And like it
Yep.
happens so quickly. And so
Yep.
now I'm very much like, okay, create the programs that my clients need, find the programs that my clients need. I can't be their everything. So
No. No.
that's one. And then the other thing that I am working on is actual like childbirth education.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah, I noticed how it can be very binary and the same kind of thing. And I will like throw in shades here to see like black bodies, brown bodies birthing and just like
Yes.
having
Yes.
that was I didn't even realize that for my whole life that I've never seen that until I saw
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
And so now just that a little more intersectionality with the people that can birth and just how
Yep.
I think every one of our like doulas knows about like chest feeding, and
Yes.
like that's a really good start.
Hmm.
And there are some other things that I just want to have more education on with childbirth education.
I love it. And we are all here for it. And I think one of the things that, let me just stop saying I think. I know that the conversation in Black communities about the LGBTQ plus A community needs to happen. And we have to figure out ways that we can not only have conversations that are going to bring us together, but really help us to parent the next generation differently, where there is this embrace of a person and helping them understand who they are and walk in that with not only pride, but confidence and understand that they come from a legacy of resilience. And so I love everything that you're talking about doing. And we definitely want to support that 100%. For those that don't know, the doulas that partner with us are independent business owners. So they own their own business, and we just work collaboratively together on certain things that they might have time for or they want to see develop more. Birth work is really complex because when we talk about birth work, so many people want to be in it, but like people don't understand how consuming and how much time it takes. I will tell you this right now, birth work, when they talk about boundaries and birth work, like I listen to that and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no. What you have to do is you have to create a community of people that will empower and be there for a person. Because sometimes you're going through your own stuff and you got to provide care and you like, girl, I am sorry, but I'm in a place, I'm in a space. And so to be able to be like, this is your care team, this is the group of people that are going to help support you along your way. This is how we can do it. So, what was the one thing for you, like as you came into the birth world? How long have you been doing this? Is this
Yes,
3 years?
about I'm only on year two, so
Two. Okay, look, I'm already throwing you in a third year. I'm like, you 3 years then. What was the one thing that you didn't realize about birth work that was like a shock? Like, oh, I did not realize I needed to know this information before I became a doula.
oh yeah. I mean, there's so many like not even just the practicality of like using positions and whatnot and how that helps. But the like, oh, I didn't realize I needed to be like in housing. I didn't realize I needed to be in like food and like formula and
Yeah,
also breast milk. I mean, there's so many things that are like I
yeah,
did not know. And I said that, like, literally, I had one of my clients that was like, "Hey, I don't have a place to live." You know, I was like, "Well, I
yeah,
can't house you, but we can
yeah,
figure something out." You know, it's just, um, there's a lot of intersectionality, especially with this administration, where, I've had clients that don't have their, how do I say that? They came. Uh, I was just gonna say, like, their status isn't what it's supposed to be,
yeah,
according to this administration.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
like, part of the birth plan is like, what happens if you get picked up?
Yep,
Where's this baby gonna go? And that
yep,
I had, you know what I mean? I was like, I was talking to, Latinos in Spokane. I was like asking other organizations to help me figure out what do I do. I
yep.
actually went with this client to the like immigration office because I was
Mm,
like, well, if you don't come out, I'll take your baby and we'll figure it out. But like that's
yeah,
how am I adding to this birth plan? Like I just it's been a
crazy.
wild time, but we
It's
really had to think
crazy.
about it.
Hmm. People do not talk about the realness that comes with a birth plan. When you have like a very soft birth plan, you can put yourself in a whole situation and you don't even realize it. Even understanding the complexities. Something I just learned, didn't even realize this, but one of our families, we have to add this onto our birth plan, which is if you have to get my consent to give my baby donor breast milk. That was mind blowing to me because there was donor breast milk given to a baby without the parent's consent. And I was like, I understand that there may be a emergency or there might be something going on, right? But that's still the parent's right to say yes
Mhm.
or no, especially if they're coherent and they are producing milk. So I just it is so complicated to realize that our families are going through spaces that are not listening to them, are not hearing them. Their birth plan is not being followed, or it's not being transitioned between floors, or you didn't put something in that possibly is now a huge thing that needs to be brought to someone's attention, such as immigration, CPS. Like even if a person is CPS involved, getting the right CPS birth plan and postpartum plan. You know this baby's about to be taken away. What are you wanting? What are you needing? Who do we need to put on here? Who needs to do what? It is so complex and it is so difficult at times. And so I think that it's important for us to realize the different varieties of birth plans and postpartum plans and birth plans. And one of the things that I think that we don't talk enough about is what happens when the plan doesn't go to pass, right? Because there's a lot of times the plan changes really fast. And so I really wish we could find another word for plan because people think that this is how it's going to go. And sometimes it doesn't go like that. And that is really difficult. Um, I want to thank you so much for like not only sharing your experience as a doula and sharing some of the experiences of families that you're working with, but being an advocate in our community and making sure families are being properly served and communicated with and loved, enjoyed, and all the different things. And so, what's one thing that you love to do for your families that you think is like the LaQuinna special? Like, this is something I do for my families to make them feel beautiful, embraced, empowered, and most importantly, like you said something also in this, which is your chosen family. And I always say that doulas kind of are your chosen family. You get to choose them and they get to be a part of your baby's life. And so tell me a little bit, what is something that you just really love to do for your families?
Yeah, once my families are starting to feel better, we are always going to the park. So when you say that chosen family, they are my like family. And so my kid is like, let me get the stroller, let's go. We go to the park. And so I have a lot of families that we're just still connecting. You know, it's fun to celebrate the year when the baby's a year old, and
Yeah.
I get invited back. It really is like it's not just a blip. Sometimes it's a blip, and I'll just sit
Yeah.
there for a little bit of time, but a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm here for life, and when you need me,
Wow.
um, and I love doing that.
Well, where can people find you? If somebody's like, I want a doula. And for those that know, we're closing out our fourth cohort, our task force. We'll be starting up a new one. But we are going to be like focusing on our families and doing a bunch of different things. And so you're going to see some of our doulas participate in different ways. And it's going to be really cool so that we now have like all of this information and we're like, okay, how do we make this concrete? How do we develop this? And so, but if people want to find you, um, tell them where can they find you?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. Just go to it's QB Doula for All, and you'll find me on all the platforms.
I love it. Are you taking families right now?
I am, yes.
Awesome, awesome. Well, listen, do not miss this. And listen, it is this conversation is so poetic, it's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that you gave us some time this morning. Um, is there anything that you want people that are hearing this conversation, what's one thing you want them to know about getting a doula and receiving support?
Yeah, it's not all about just advocacy. I want you to find your own voice. You are allowed for who you are, and you just need the right like people in the room. So if that's me, if that's somebody else, I used to say like I served 2S LGBTQIA people, and then I realized, you know what? I'm not two spirit, and I know
Mm,
people, and I can refer you to somebody that knows
yep.
more and is of that identity. And so, if you feel like you have to explain yourself and you can't be your authentic self, find me
Mm,
or find somebody that can help you. You deserve it.
I love it. But listen, y'all know I love to talk during the podcast because people be saying stuff. And I love that about you, Quinna. You are such an amazing person. We're so blessed to have you in our community. And y'all, when in doubt, doula it out, okay? You know my quote, girl get a doula, person get a doula, queen get a
Mhm.
person, okay? All of it get a doula, okay? Because these are people that are here to support you emotionally and physically. And remember, support is the new superpower. So with that being said, see you soon. Thanks, Quinna.
Yeah.